The following lecture is a quick introduction to responsible equine ownership. This is part one of a series of introductory lectures. Lesson 1: Safety around horses. Part 1 on safety. Horses are not 1,000-pound dogs. Horses react very quickly to outside stimulation. They will run from something that frightens them. Once a horse reaches what is thought to be safety, he'll usually stop, turn around, and look at the perceived threat. If a human happens to be between him and what he perceives to be safety, the horse will not hesitate to run the person over. When you're a trainer, when you're around horses, you must be alert at all times. All horses kick. If a horse is startled, a kick may quickly follow. Horses will kick in play, or they will kick in aggression. When you're grooming a horse, if you drop a grooming tool, do not bend over behind the horse and pick up the item. Instead, use your foot, move it to the side into a safe zone before you retrieve the dropped item. If a horse must be approached from behind, make sure you give it a little notice before you do so. Otherwise, it may turn out bad for you. A firm "whoa" will condition the horse to recognize the trainer is approaching, the handler is approaching from the rear, and this may prevent a kick, and you will definitely be able to tell the horse's mood, whether or not it's receptive to your verbal command of "whoa" or not. When walking behind a horse, either stay very close to their hindquarters or put a hand on their rump and move into an area beyond the reach of a fully extended kick. When approaching the horse from the front, do not run up to him. Walk quietly, peacefully, and speak in a calm voice so he is aware of you. Approach him to the left or to the right of his center. Towards his shoulder is best. Don't extend your hand directly toward his face. Instead, place a hand on his shoulder while saying "whoa." It's a double reinforcement, a pleasurable feeling of touch on the horse's coat, around his neck, and also the verbal command of "whoa" once you've properly conditioned the horse to be receptive to your verbal commands. Avoid being with a horse when he is loose. It is dangerous to be in a pasture with a loose horse. It is even more dangerous if there are several horses roaming around freely. The risk of being run over or kicked or trampled is very high when horses are running free. Carrying a long stick or a whip will help keep them back. They've been taught to fear these things. Do not carry grain or hay while in a pasture with a loose horse. This is a sure way to get injured. Be sure to stay alert. An example we have comes from Jan. Jan is an experienced horsewoman. One afternoon, she was out doing her routine chores on the farm. The horses were in the back pasture, so she opened the gate to let them come to the barn. As they came through the gate, one of those horses playfully kicked, and that gate caught Jan on the side of the head. She suffered a broken jaw, lost several teeth, and had damage done to the bone structure around her eye. Beware of a biting horse. Horses must complete the biting act. Once a horse starts to close his mouth, the action must be carried through to its conclusion. He cannot open his mouth in mid-bite. In addition to this, if a horse has been disciplined many times, he may bite and jerk away. This can even leave a nasty wound or bruise on the trainer. Another example is a 2-year-old stallion was being lunged, and he was doing a good job for a young horse. The trainer Tom stopped him, and he approached the young horse to pat him on the neck. The colt reached out and grabbed Tom's hand with his teeth. When Tom removed his glove, he discovered the tip of his middle finger was missing. This is just something we want to avoid if we can. And the way to avoid this is by taking all of the proper safety precautions. When walking down the aisleway of a barn, where horses are hanging their heads out of the stalls, be very careful a horse does not reach out and make a grab at you. Learn to read horse body language. Horses will usually send signals before committing an act. It is important to learn these signals and know how to react to them. The most obvious form of horse communication is their ears. A horse with his ears pinned back against his head is an aggressive horse. It is not a good idea to approach this horse with an extended hand because a finger might be lost, just like Tom. A cocked back leg is accompanied usually with pinned ears. That's surely to be followed by a kick. And that's also something to look for if you drop a grooming tool and you're trying to pick it up. Make sure you browse around the internet and look at books with pictures of people interacting with horses, and read the body language. Invariably, you will see a photo of a girl kissing a horse, and this is just a sure way to get injured. These photos are often taken for sentimental value. Oftentimes they're photoshopped and just illusory in nature in the main sense, and trying this without proper training and without building proper rapport with the horse is just a plain bad idea. The bone in the horse's head is about 500 pounds of pressure stronger than the human skull. So just imagine what that would do if that came at you with a nodding, extreme, forceful headbutt. If the horse is being kissed and he flips his head, the kiss will quickly be forgotten. And if you're able to show your nose and your face in public immediately afterwards, you'll be lucky. Never tie yourself to the horse or wrap the end of the rope or reins around your hands. There are times when getting away from the horse is the best thing for all concerned, and you cannot do that if your hand is tangled in the rope. Make sure you learn how to hold the lead rope properly and do not wrap it around her hand. An example is Kate and her sister were riding their horses in the woods. Kate soon dismounted to remove some debris blocking the trail. She tied the horse's tie rope around her waist so he wouldn't wander away. A movement in the woods spooked the horse, and she was drugged to her death while her sister watched. What a horrible tragedy. Obviously, these word examples are just for illustrative purposes, but the main message is to stay alert, stay aware, and be trained properly before you're dealing with an animal of this size. When leading a horse, walk next to him with his throat latch opposite your shoulder. Do not walk directly in front of him while he drags along behind you. If he is behind you and something spooks him, he will most likely jump directly on top of you, trample over you, and run away as fast as he can until he's in a safe place, as we discussed earlier. Proper leading will be addressed in a later section. Never, I repeat, never work with a horse unless you have a halter and a lead rope or a bridle on the horse. Working with a horse at liberty and with complete freedom is a sure way to get hurt. Protective clothing should be required. Boots are not a fashion statement, they serve a purpose. The leather provides a protective barrier between a hoof and a toe. Granted, being stepped on will hurt, but less damage will result if you're wearing the proper footwear. Riding helmets have been discussed in depth in all horse riding disciplines. It comes down to one fact: they save lives. It's recommended that approved helmets be worn while riding. Yes, they are hot, they look funny, but there are some cool colors and styles available, and your safety should be your main priority when dealing with an animal that can crush you. Gloves are not mandatory, but they can protect your hands while working around horses. The feeling of having a lead rope slide through your bare hands is a rough one. As the horse is spooking at a blowing plastic bag, it's not really pleasant. Part 2. On your horse's safety. Horses are large animals and they have a flight or fight instinct. When frightened, they run. These two characteristics can make dangerous situations even worse. Throughout the course, you will learn why horses need to be trained properly so they are attentive in dangerous situations, so that they're willing to listen to their trainers and cues and respond to cues when in times of crisis. Proper training aids and props are used to avoid dangerous situations. Your horse's surroundings must be horse-proof. Stalls, fences, pastures, and passageways must be structured and maintained with your horse's safety in mind. You must be observant at all times, repair, remove, and avoid unsafe situations. Risk management. Stalls and pastures should not have protruding boards, nails, or any other item which can cause harm to either you or your horse. Construction gaps should be large enough for a foot or a head to be inserted, and they should be repaired immediately upon receiving any type of damage. Feeders and waterers should be horse safe. The stall flooring should be textured so your horse can stand without slipping. Passageways and barn aisles should be clear and wide enough for you and your horse to pass safely through. Tools such as wheelbarrows and manure forks should be put away in their proper places. Latches on doors and gates should be latched back so your horse cannot catch on them when passing through. Make sure the door or gate is open all the way before leading the horse through. In later lessons, we will learn about safe fences and proper stabling for horses. Common sense around horses is an important virtue. When around horses, you must be alert and be aware of their movements at all times. If someone puts you or your horse in a situation you feel is unsafe, do not be shy. Speak up and protect yourself and your horse. Do not put your horse in an unsafe situation. Think before acting. One last word example we could give is that Butch's wife called to him from the house. Butch had a telephone call. Butch was just about to put away his bridle and have it accompany his saddled horse back to the stall. Instead of trying to get the horse into a safe area, such as a stall, he turned him loose with the saddle on. When Butch returned to the paddock, the horse had caught his hind foot in the flank strap, panicked, and crashed through the fence, getting severely injured. If you are taking this course in preparation to own your first horse, please stay safe while searching for your first horse. Observe the owner handling manual and observe good riding practices with the horse. Take an experienced horseman along for advice. This is also a great opportunity to inspect stables and make notes about what to avoid and what to implement and what can be improved in your future horse's stable. This concludes the introductory lecture to responsible horse ownership. I'll see you for the next lecture.